Welcome along to Point Blank Music School, where today we are joined in the studio by Rocky and Diesel from hugely influential British house act Express 2 for a very special live broadcast. Now, Express 2 have been responsible for a whole heap of classic underground tracks over the years. The likes of Smoke Machine, of AC/DC, and of course Lazy, which went on to have huge crossover commercial success. A kind of barely up-tempo deep house track, which it featured a kind of unlikely collaboration with the Talking Heads' David Byrne. The track itself, it became one of the most kind of notable dance records of the decade when it reached the top of the charts here in the UK in about 2002. So today, myself and of course Ski, we're going to be chatting to Rocky and Diesel about the track, what made it so infectious, their approach in the studio, and to get a bit more of an insight into their work, really. Also, for you guys watching at home, it is your chance to get involved, so make sure you post any questions up in the chat room and we'll do our best to get through them all at the end of the session. Rocky and Diesel, thanks for coming along.
No worries.
So to the very first thing I thought we should talk about is the kind of a bit of background on the track, really. What was the inspiration and how did it come about?
I think you mentioned that earlier on, what we were kind of listening to at the time, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah, we were very much into Masters at Work productions,
right,
and a lot of the death mix. So it would be productions or remixes by David Morales, Frankie Knuckles, those kinds of guys. So yeah, we were kind of into, you know, deep house, or in those days it was called US garage.
Right. Yeah.
As opposed to UK, New Jersey, yeah. Very like the New York sound. You know, along with other guys like Luther Swing, that kind of vibe. So we used to play a lot of that in our DJ sets.
And that was kind of what we were trying to do when we were you know, it was a backing track initially.
Yeah, of course.
And it was just kind of based on a lot of those sort of things that we'd heard and were influenced by. And I think we used an SP1200 to get you know, if we wanted that kind of master work sort of drum sound as well. Yeah. So we were using that, and I think it literally started as a kind of a drum track with like a few other little vocal samples and that we put in there, and kind of built it up from there. As that's how we would pretty much do everything back in the day, and as we still do. To be honest with you, it's you know, it's very kind of sample based, and then just build things around you know, whatever you've got there in the way of samples.
And I guess so. You know, those kind of early stages of the production, it's very much a track for the floor, for the club.
Yes.
And it, you know, kind of builds momentum. I mean, where did how did the kind of collab with David Byrne happen?
Years ago, we had another project called Ballistic Brothers, which was a bit more, not so much straight up dancehall, but a bit more kind of trip hop before it had that name, if you like. And it was lots of break beats and lots of kind of jazz and funk and hip hop influences and stuff. And we did a couple of albums back in the day, and David Byrne got to hear some of the Ballistic Brothers stuff and got in touch with us through our then management company, saying that he was looking for a band to support him on a tour that he was doing, and we were like, well, you know, we're not a band, we're kind of a bunch of DJs that just sample records, thanked him very much, and you know, that was that kind of thing.
And that kind of started a relationship, I guess.
Well, not really. You know, it was just it was kind of left at that. We said thank you very much, and you know, we're honoured that you thought of us. And then fast forward like 4 years or 4 or 5 years to 2001, when we were kind of writing this backing track, and we got to a stage with the track where we then put like a little bit of vocal on it, me and Ashley doing some like kind of little scat sort of singing vocal thing on there, and it had these other little vocal samples.
So you did have a direction vocal?
Yeah. We you know, it totally had like a basis there. It was kind of like a little chanty sort of sung chorus thing that me and Ashley had put in. And you know, we were kind of sat in the studio, and it was like, oh, it sounds a bit Prince, it sounds something else, and as we said, it's, you know, it's Masters at Work, and it was our engineer that said, oh, I think it sounds like Talking Heads, and that was the point where we were like, well, you know, he's been in touch with us before, let's see if he remembers us, and that was it. It just kind of started the ball rolling, you know, got in touch with his manager
because our manager knew his manager.
Okay.
Because we mentioned it to him, because he said, oh, how did the studio session go? And we said, oh, you know, we thought about maybe getting in touch with, David Byrne, because obviously we were signed to Skint at that point.
Yes,
so I was thinking, if we're with Skint,
yeah,
they may be able to find some inroads to maybe, get him on board. And then he said, well, I know his manager. He's like, you're joking. So everything fell into place. I mean, it was only just due to our engineer's comment about it sounding a little bit like Talking Heads, which started the whole ball rolling, saying, oh, well, he contacted us 5 years ago. And then so it just all fell into place. And then he spoke to his manager, who's in New York, and he said, well, look, just send it over. And that was that. But we didn't expect to get anything back. We just thought, oh, he's not going to remember us.
Yeah.
And then there was contact, and it was like, we got the word back saying that he would be interested in doing something.
And did you get in the studio, physically with David?
No. It was all kind of done remotely. We sent him the backing track over, and then he sent like what he'd written, as well as like a bunch of other stuff as well, which was pretty mad.
It's a pretty unique vocal, isn't it?
Yeah, but there was like other stuff. We were speaking to Ski earlier on about, he sent us like what he'd done, and there were like things like him clucking like a chicken, and
brilliant,
playing like these like really odd analog keyboard sounds over the top of it, just completely disjointed and didn't fit. But when we got what he'd done back, we were sat in the studio that we were using at the time, and all of us were just sat round the desk, and we kind of had the music coming out one side, and then what he'd done out the other side, and just sort of soloed him, and we were all sat there like, he's mad, he's mad. But it was at that point you kind of thought, wow, he's kind of really hit on something.
Yeah.
You kind of saw that it was going to be cool.
Amazing. Well, Ski, let's get you involved. So, obviously you've kind of deconstructed Lazy as part of the EMC course. That's right.
Well, this is it. It's a sort of weird coincidence when I heard that you guys were coming in and to talk about this track. I was like, wow. Well, I used this track in one of the courses that I've recently written, which is the Electronic Music Composition Part 2 course. And it's a 4-week course, and in the second week, I'd look at 8 really big tracks, and when we chose, yours with this track as one of those tracks. So, and we use point blank, we use sort of deconstructions to basically, get inside tracks, get in chords, look at chords, bass lines, melodies, arrangements, and just talk about how tracks, electronic dance tracks, are constructed. So I kind of went back on the project. I mean, what I also provide with the course is a project file in Logic and Ableton, so that students can download it and kind of bring it up, and they can actually look at all the parts themselves. And if they like a kind of particular chord, a minor 9 or something, maybe they can kind of use that in something else. Obviously not plagiarising tracks, but but kind of use it as influence anyway. So I brought the track up, and I I kind of had another look at it, tidied it up a little bit, and I've got the track here on Ableton, and I just thought first of all we should have a listen to the track, and the original, and I was also able to get hold of the a cappella, which you can get on iTunes, which is always really handy when you're doing deconstruction, because you've actually, it's like doing a remix in a way, you've got something to work from. So let's have a listen. This is the original. What I generally do is take the original track and I sort of put it onto the arrange page in Ableton, and then I kind of chop it up into different sections, kind of colour them as well. So you can see here we kind of got intro, chorus, verse, bridge. So let's just have a little play from the intro. Coming up to the chorus. So I think that's one sort of to start off with. That's a great thing. You've got this little kind of instrumental bit at the start, but you're pretty much kicking in straight with the chorus. There's that thing, don't bore us, get to the chorus. You're straight in there, and the track follows quite a kind of, in a way, quite conventional arrangement. I mean, I imagine, did you have to do as a radio edit? Or?
What you're playing there is pretty much a kind of an edited down version of our original. The original 12 is like 7 or 8 minutes long. And kind of, there's a big sort of ambling, intro section before it breaks into that. Chorus part.
And I never heard the sort of original instrumental. Did that ever come out at all, or was that?
No.
I've never heard that.
No. It was, you know, the instrumental thing that we did was literally just a demo, and you know, Diesel did find a kind of demo version some years ago, but it's since been lost in time.
On a DAT.
Did you have like a flood or something? Did it just kind of get lost in a flood? No?
Oh, we didn't know. He had a flood recently.
It wasn't part of that. No, something else.
And once you got the vocal back from David, did you then kind of work on the music to fit around the vocal?
Yeah. We could, but the vocal came back over our original demo.
Yeah.
Thankfully, he kind of completely ignored the vocals that myself and Ashley had put there.
Right.
There were a couple of like little sort of leady things that he, like the was a part that was on the original but was a vocal sample, so he kind of, you know, used that as an influence for the chorus. And the little there's like a little keyboard synth part, like a little melody just before the pianos come in, that bum bum bum, that was from the original as well, and you know, we kind of copied that. So once we got his vocal back, it did take a little while to then kind of, you know, get the music exactly as we liked. We kind of went over it a few times and had a keyboard player mate of ours that was kind of in with us, and you know, just going backwards and forwards, and then eventually you know, kind of got I think we had the little keyboard part, and then it was just getting that piano sounds. We were kind of trying different things, and then someone said, well, what about a big, you know, nice big kind of piano chord, and that was it. He was just playing, hitting piano chords, and all of a sudden he hit this, like the 3-chord progression. We're like, that's it. You know,
sorry, carry on.
Because I remember that we wanted to, it was deep. Well, the backing track was deep. David was doing his thing, and you know, he's got the chorus going up, but we really wanted to emphasise that, and we didn't want it just to be like this kind of sort of deep heads down kind of thing. We wanted it to be slightly anthemic, I think, because
a bit of a hands in the air,
hands in the air sort of situation, which we hadn't initially thought of, but because the song we felt deserved that really. And so we really wanted to highlight that on the chorus. And I mean, you know, again, we talk about the Def Mix influence, you know, all those sort of big Knuckles productions, or David Morales, they all have those sort of big, and it was the sound of the keys as well. They've got that shiny, bright, urgent sort of sound to them, which is very much a Def Mix style. So it was a real sort of like a sort of nod to those guys.
So masters at work as well, they never shy away from pianos.
It's that, you know, those kind of productions they did with India, and you know, because we've always loved good songs, and we, you know, once we got this song back from David, we had so much responsibility. I mean, he's like he's a hero to us, and you know, stroke legend, if you can use that word. And we just thought, well, you know, we can't mess this up. You know, you really can't
on then.
It was just slightly, and it was quite, I remember it, the pressure being on at the time.
You know, it took a few weeks of going back in and over it to actually get it to the point where it was like, you know, we were happy with it. But I think it was that eureka moment was, like I said, that where he hit those the 3 chords on the piano sound. That was it, and then you kind of, that was it. It was nailed then.
I think that's quite the way with chord progressions, isn't it? I don't know if you'd agree, but you know, when you hit it, you know.
Definitely. One of the interesting things about this track is it's quite subtle in a way. You know, the changes. You know, I mean, obviously the piano does, you know, have make a big difference to sort of bring it up, but you know, it's pretty much kind of pedaling on this F. I mean, you know, let's kind of look at it in a bit more detail. I've just kind of got a beat here, and let's just kind of get that first kind of synth stab sound up, and just have a listen to that. Okay. So we've got this. I've also got this virtual keyboard, so we can have a look at the actual kind of notes as well. There we go. So on the music side, the track's in F minor, and it's got a real kind of minor 9 sound. So this first chord is like that, and is also using not the F natural minor, but the Dorian minor as well, because when the chord progression comes in, it goes from like an F minor 9 or F minor 7 to a B flat major back down to the F minor. So we have this note here, which is a sharp on 6, which is making it an F Dorian scale. So let's just play this. This is sort of the intro and sort of verse section, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, and the next part I really love is this kind of organ bit. Just put that in, and that's just pedaling on the F. So that's kind of pretty much the intro, and I'm just going to duplicate this now. I've got my push here, and we can maybe try out the bass. And so just put that in. So that's kind of makes up that little intro bit and the verse, and then if we just duplicate that again, we can look at the chorus, which is where that sort of 3-chord progression comes in, which is really nice. So I'm just going to get rid of those. Oops. There we go. Just play that again. And get that synth sound again. So for this kind of synth stab that was just kind of playing one riff, it's kind of adapted. And I think this is a great thing that the keyboard player did to kind of go with the chords. So he changed it to an F minor 7, then to the B flat major, and it's kind of going down to like an F sus 4 as well, and then up as well to that D, which kind of makes like a diminished sound. So let's just put that in. And then this is another great part, is the bass line for this kind of like plays an arpeggio. So it starts off on the F, and then it plays the B flat, and then down to the F minor as well. So it's kind of following the chords, and that's really good. I don't know how different this is sounding to the original track. It's kind of weird. I've never done this kind of deconstruction with the actual artist.
No,
looking over my shoulder.
Quite like that.
This is what you did. But let's just, I'm not going to do too much more. I just wanted to look at the piano part as well, which is this. And this is giving that real kind of soulful house sound, I think. I love this chord here. And it's an inversion of an F minor 9, but it's got these kind of notes here, like really kind of clustered together. So it's just really kind of soulful sound, I think. And then going to the B flat major again, and then to the just F minor. And I noticed that he's really kind of going for it as well. I haven't actually got a sustain pedal unfortunately here, but he's kind of really kind of going up and down the keyboard and really kind of, making it quite grand in a way. Yeah. But just put that in. And you kind of gives it some rhythm as well. One final thing, which is a classic element, and that's the high strings.
Yeah.
Which totally brings it up. It's fantastic. Let's put that in. So we've got our sections in now.
It really does lift it up.
Yeah.
It makes such a difference.
I mean, it just instantly sounds such like a verse kind of bed. It's really coming down, and but I think the vocals play such a major part in it. And one thing I really noticed how rhythmical his vocals are as well. so there we go. I've got, I mean, that's just the sort of basic elements of it. And I've kind of got this pretty much, and this is the thing I did, I kind of sketched it all out here. And that's the track.
Did you sing the vocal ski? Did you get?
No. We could do that as a competition, I suppose. We recently did that for craft work. I did a kind of deconstruction of the model without the vocal, and we put it out there and got people to kind of submit their own vocals to it. Which is fantastic. So, but yeah, I'm kind of really interested to see how you work in the studio. And you mentioned that you had a keyboard player.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, did you sort of give him or her kind of free license to sort of do stuff, and then send it to you, and then you kind of check it out and say which bits you like?
No. With the keyboard player on Lazy, he actually came into the studio with us, and
right.
it was us then guiding him, like we want something like this, blah blah blah. With the little kind of verse chords and that, those parts were pretty much there from just rudimentary bits of keyboard that we played in ourselves. Sorry, excuse me. And then he kind of added to that, and we eventually took out rubbishy keyboard playing away, and we're left with like the professional guys.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So it was kind of like it was us kind of giving him guidance and saying he was kind of a mate of ours and knew our taste and knew what we were talking about when we said about Def Mix and Masters at Work, and kind of knew that and knew those sort of sounds and stuff. So it was kind of pretty much like that.
You're taking a kind of quite a traditional role in a way as producers, actually kind of stepping away from, I mean, I think now there's this onus is on the artist to kind of do everything.
Yes.
And it's, right down to kind of actually marketing that music as well, and it's kind of too much, I think, to sort of have to actually like write the music, program it, master it, release it. And I think that's kind of missing in a way. I think it's, it's so good that you can step back, and especially, I suppose you must take a different perspective as well, having that DJ kind of background.
Yes, yeah.
You know that you can stretch this out for kind of 16 bars, and then you need to have a breakdown because that's going to work kind of on the floor.
Yeah.
And do you still, I mean, does that apply now? Has it changed at all?
Completely, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's different to the way it was then. I mean, in terms of, even just, the fact that we put it down to DAT tape. But, and all the drums, we tend to not use an SP1200 now. I mean, Machine, I suppose, has replaced that.
Oh, right, okay, that's interesting.
But,
I think the whole, like you touched on the DJ thing, it's just that not only the DJ thing, but just being a person that goes to clubs and being a dancer and kind of being on dance floors, and kind of knowing what you would want to hear as a dancer, not just as a DJ, there's the kind of lens to it as well, but having that thing of like naturally feeling where the breakdown should fall, naturally feeling where you should have that little 8-bar bridge section or whatever, it's all kind of lends to each other.
And I mean, after this track, which was kind of so huge, did you then feel any pressure yourself or artistically to kind of come up with a Lazy 2? Or
yeah, completely.
Externally, not so much within ourselves, because I think what we did with Lazy, we only ever wanted to make a deep house record with a David Byrne vocal on it, and that's what we did. Then the fact that it kind of went beyond our control and got in the pop charts and top of the pops and all that sort of stuff was a happy accident, and a brilliant one for us. It did us massive favours, but yes, after that there was a bit of pressure.
And I guess it snowballed itself, didn't it, really? I mean, it wasn't...
it wasn't like it was a big marketing thing or anything like that. It just, it was just a good tune, and people kind of got it and got into it. So, as the best things tend to be, I find.
Yeah.
Unless you're Daft Punk.
That's a whole other conversation, isn't it? And you mentioned that you're kind of getting into a bit of DAW kind of like using Ableton now and Machine.
I've started using Ableton. Diesel started using Machine.
Right.
It's got kind of 25 years of just letting other people do all that sort of stuff. But we finally got around to doing it. But again, it was in the past it was always the only tools that we had were our ears. It was nothing else. We would just totally be guided by what we heard and no sort of technical stuff. So it was just totally what was coming out of the speakers.
And a lot of producers, I'd say there was a good percentage of dance producers weren't programming. I remember it was literally you just add your enthusiasm, and I think there's still producers like that now, you know, that just basically, kind of produce, like you were saying, like the old school way, rather than doing the programming and engineering. They tend to work with, that's how we still do that now, even though we can, Rocky programs on Ableton, I can do a little bit on machine. We still have someone that we work with that does the programming, because they'll do all the nitty gritty stuff,
the stuff that we take half a day to do.
Yeah, exactly. He's quick, and he's brilliant at mix downs, and so all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's for the speed really. And then we can sort of play around and program a beat there, and and he'll make sense of that. And and Rocky's always played around on the keyboard. To get little riffs or bass lines, but it's really anything sort of elaborate, then we get the professionals in, I suppose. Get the man in,
Well, I've done a bit of work with Joe Negro, and I've gone to his studio in Crouch End, and he's basically got his record room right next to the studio. And it's just the most it's always like the most fun day, because he's just running in there, getting a load of records, samples, playing them to me, going, can you get that kind of vibe, those kind of chords. And he's got a programmer, engineer. And
that's kind of pretty much what we still do now. We'll if ever we go into the studio, we'll have our ideas and like little bits that we programmed ourselves. But then we'll just have a box of vinyl each as well, because we've been collecting records for years and kind of have a vast kind of library of sounds and influences that we kind of look at. So sorry, I interrupted.
Well, no. It's just it's great. I know often the programmer is working on maybe 4 or 5 tracks, all at the same time. It's like he might sort of just want to reference another track he's been working on, and then that will develop a bit more. I think it's great having a programmer there, sort of doing that, taking care of that sort of side of things. Capturing the creativity as it comes out.
And it comes out like that. And I mean, you mentioned the kind of the keys. I think having a professional keyboard player has taken that chord progression and that makes it so infectious. He does take it to that level really. I mean, as we kind of approach time, I just wanted to ask about you kind of touched on it briefly there, but your kind of connection from playing in clubs to the studio work as well. How important is it as you guys to play out, to be DJs, to know the floor and the crowd? How far does that come into your studio work?
I think it's like a massive part of it. It's just. I think it's kind of a natural thing as well. To be able to be in that position where you can kind of come out of the studio on a Friday afternoon, Friday night, be playing in a club somewhere, and kind of testing out exactly what you've done that past 2 or 3 days or whatever. So it's I think the two just go hand in hand. It's a natural thing. You just I think we're lucky to be in that position. Lots of people aren't, but it's a massively integral part of what we do.
Yeah, definitely.
For both things.
And obviously, I also wanted to ask, just as we're kind of wrapping up, do you have any advice for the students out there watching? Anybody who's looking to make music and possibly to break through from maybe a more beginner level and try and take it and get noticed?
Give David Byrne a call. Oh gosh, where can you begin with that one? No, it's all about personal having taste, I suppose, but how can you tell someone to learn to have good taste? You've either got that or you don't. And the
same with passion, really. It's just something that you do, and you do it. And
do it for the right reasons.
Totally. And I don't know, try and stand out, I suppose. That's
which isn't easy. And, we've already mentioned to you, God knows how many influences we used making that record. But I think if you're doing it from the heart, even if you are sort of wearing your influences quite heavily, they never sort of sound quite like your heroes. And that's the whole point. I remember when we first started out, I mean, we used Lazy as an example. Our first tune that we did as Express 2 was we were trying to make a Chicago house record. We were trying to make a DJ Pierre record, but at the same time,
sounded a bit like Hard Floor.
They sounded like a Hard Floor Experience, which was a European. I can't remember what country they're from.
They're from Berlin.
Berlin, yeah. So we had a mix of US and Berlin, and what we liked was the US influence of groove that DJ Pierre had, but we liked the arrangements of the Europeans because they had these huge breakdowns. So yeah, it's kind of, I suppose, yeah, just doing it for real, and you know, yeah, if you got influences, use those, but have your own spin on it.
I guess that's where something like the Deconstructions, you know, comes in. You know,
Yeah.
you're looking at tracks that influence you, and you're trying to, you know, let that influence come out in your own work, really, without
that's it. Yeah,
just copying.
Exactly. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, as we kind of approach time here, just say a massive thank you to Rocky and Diesel for coming down.
No problem. Thanks for having us.
No problem at all. And obviously thanks to Ski for showing us the Deconstruction.
It's been fascinating, isn't it?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's about it from us. You guys watching at home, feel free to get involved and comment on the YouTube comment section. Also, make sure you hit the subscribe button and keep locked to the Point Blank Facebook page and the blog as well. That's about it from us. We'll see you on Friday for Friday Forum Live. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye bye.